Okay, we're doing a bit of power testing today. Been having a few issues with erratic power measurements on my Elite Direto. So yesterday I went through the belt tightening procedure to get it bang on calibration to the exact number that it's supposed to be. 6504 on the sticker. It was reading 6501 and I was getting really erratic power fluctuations on my racing traces, and starting to get a few comments and people saying stuff, so I thought I'd have a look at it. And yeah, so I've got plenty of data on intervals that shows that my traces over the last year have just got more and more spiky. So having adjusted it now, it's time to do some testing. So I'm doing the warm-up phase and do about 10 minutes to warm up the trainer. Then I'll do a spin down, and then I'm going to do 3 tests, try and hold a minute of as close to 100 watts as I can, and 200 watts and 300 watts, and I'm going to do both of those. I'm going to do all 3 of those both sitting and standing. So then hopefully we'll be able to see if there's a difference. In the before and after. Hopefully we will see. I mean, it already looks, I mean, I'm right down at the low end, but the I've got both Source and Zwift's native power readout, and they already look as if they're not jumping around very much, which I'm quite pleased about. You know, it's holding quite stable at 50 there. So that's good. I'm warming up slowly to warm up the machine and obviously get the legs ready for the bigger efforts. Haven't quite figured out what order I'm going to do it in yet, but I think I'll do the 2 100 watt efforts first, sitting then standing. 300. I can do 300 watts for a minute, but I don't think I can do it twice back to back, so I may have to have a break there. 200 should be okay. I can do 200 for an hour in theory. Well, I have done. Have done 216 for an hour up the Alp. I don't really need to see that segment data, so I'll make that go away. Maybe Mr. Fussy can get the alignment of that correct. It's weird, but I actually think, and maybe it's my imagination, but I actually think the trainer feels more solid than it did yesterday. which is strange, but weird. I had to turn the adjustment screw about 3 full revolutions to get the belt to the required calibration tension, and it was getting quite tight at the end. I think on the last one I got a full number change with just a quarter turn. But yeah, it does, it feels tighter, more solid, and I am quite heartened to see the numbers aren't jumping around all that much, but we're still quite low in the real easy territory, so it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. I'm going to try and do the testing on the flat bits as well. As you can see, I've got a decent length of flat coming up, but not really ready. The trainer won't be warmed up yet to do the spin down, so we'll wait until it is. If the results from this are no good, I do have a spare belt and pulley that I could swap in. But before changing that, I would probably get onto Elite support and see what they suggest. But I am quite encouraged by these results. It's also quite interesting to see the source readout seems to lag the Zwift one by about half a second, which is fair enough because it's reading from the stream. And that's not enough to affect anything in racing, so I don't care. Both of them are set to instantaneous with no extra smoothing. So I think it's quite possible my belt just stretched, got loose with use. I've done about 11,000 miles on this Direto in the last 2.5 years. And as I say, looking back at my intervals power charts, it seems that it was fine in November 2022, and by sort of January, February 2023 it wasn't. So somewhere around then it became problematic, but I was blissfully unaware of it. So the other issue that we're looking for is you can already see some little bumps at the bottom on the Zwift power trace. Is this sort of cyclic effect with a time period of about 7 seconds, which is something I want to investigate as well, because in some racing conditions, it does appear that there's some sort of hysteresis where there's a delay in between when you pedal and when the power actually gets transmitted to Zwift and you're moving up and down, and in order to not bounce around in a group you do have to modulate your power. And I do half wonder if that, coupled with a bit of trainer problem, is actually the underlying reason for the whole problem. My personal opinion is you should be able to pedal however the hell you want. But, and this is the big but, assuming that your trainer actually outputs the true power for the pedal effort you did. There shouldn't be any need for any suspicion of cheating or whatever. Because at the end of the day, if you pedal like a twat when you're out on a group ride, people are just going to laugh at you. They're not going to accuse you of cheating, are they? Which reminds me of one time when Andy from the club, when his Di2 battery died and he was stuck in a ridiculous fast gear. Fast as in spinning the pedals fast. He was stuck on a fairly large climbing gear on the rear sprockets, which was very amusing. He could pedal fast, but I got a little video of him pedaling like crazy and going nowhere on the flats and downhill. It was really quite funny. So yeah, we didn't accuse him of cheating. We just laughed because he was pedaling like a twat. Okay, I reckon the trainer is warmed up. We've had 13 minutes and we've just got over the hump. So let's do a spin down, as I do before every race, just as a matter of habit. Okay. It always seems like it's over too quickly to me, how you can measure something just when it goes between 19 and 17 miles an hour. But having said that, the spin downs I did on the app, on the Elite app yesterday, for setting the calibration, it made me pedal much. I've made a mistake. I don't want to ditch this ride. Let's go back. Back. Right. The spin downs I did on the Elite app, it made me pedal much harder. So that was interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to get the wattage up steadily to 100 and then hold it there for a minute sitting, and then I'm going to try to do it standing, which could be amusing because I don't usually stand to pedal at just 100 watts. Oh, I need to bring source back so we can get our okay, get the cursor out of the way. Alright, so let's ramp up to 100. and see if we can hold it. Okay, 16:30, going for 1 minute. And I'm doing what I never do, which is watching the power while pedaling, and trying to pedal as absolutely regularly as possible. When I'm racing, I look at the riders, not the numbers. So this feels really weird to me. Not even looking at my little guy, just looking at the numbers. Yeah, I've got 10 seconds to go. And then it's standing up time. That'll be fun. Okay, done your minute. So I'm pleased about that. I'll just let that die off so that I can see on the graph where that's supposed to end. And now I'm going to figure out how to do it standing up. Okay, here we go, 18:11. Starting now. 20. This feels ridiculous. It's exactly the opposite of what I would ever do. It's like I'm standing up and holding back. So I only ever stand up when I want to smash the crap out of it. It's funny, my thighs feel like I'm working hard to not push. Yeah, well, I think this test was a little bit shit. It's certainly very uncomfortable trying to maintain 100 watts standing up. Bollocks to that, finished. Didn't work very well, that. But I'm not surprised. Oh, and weirdly, thighs are burning now from standing up and not pushing. I think that was a bullshit experiment. Never mind. The 100 watts sitting looked to be quite encouraging. Right, I'm going to have a rest because my legs really didn't like that 100 watts standing up. That's really funny. It almost felt like the legs were working backwards to try and hold back the power rather than push power through the pedals. Right, I think I will turn round and use the flat. Again for the next test. Alright. Now we want to ramp up to 200 and do a minute at 200 sitting down. Okay, the burn has gone from the thigh. That's a first for me. Having burning quads from trying not to push too hard. I don't want to ramp too slowly or I'll run out of flat. Trying to be smooth there. Okay, bloody 4:30 going for 1 minute. Okay, that's a minute. Bit of a no cadence blip on the trace. Alright, I'll turn round again so we can stay on the flat and then get my head around doing 200 standing up, which shouldn't be too bad actually. That should feel quite easy. Smooth it isn't, but okay, we're there. I'll go at 30. Go. Alright, I think I drifted down a bit, but that's because I wasn't looking too heavily at the power. I'm very, very encouraged by those green traces on the graph at the bottom, because although you can still see the cyclical peaking and troughing, it's very much less pronounced than it was before, and that is incredibly encouraging, because I think it's very likely that tightening the belt has actually helped. Oh, why did I agree to do 300, huh? That's what's coming up next. If I push out, I might just cut it to 30 seconds of each. Actually, that might be sensible anyway, who knows. But now I can do 300 for a minute. Yesterday I was targeting 350 for 230 on Yorkshire KOM reverse for the FTS. Although I didn't hit that target, I should be able to do 300 for 2 minutes. Don't be a pussy. Okay, it'll be time to turn around soon. Yeah, so green traces are looking good, but also the power numbers in the top left of the screen are not jumping nearly as much as they were, so they're really, well, almost looks stable for power readings. Okay, time to turn around and get ready for 2 reps of 300. It's almost like an interval set, isn't it? Hey, 31:42. Okay, and look at the trace. There's a couple of spikes there, but at the beginning, but that looks more like my own incompetence at getting the power right. Oh, I think I'm going to bimble to the other end of the straight to recover before I do the final standing 300 minute. So by no means was that top end power, but it was still relatively hard. Interesting to see what happens with standing. As long as I can get to a decent working cadence, it should be okay. So yeah, there is definitely a sort of some sort of a cyclic thing going on there, but hopefully the amplitude of it is greatly reduced and therefore no longer looks problematic for performance verification purposes. course, this is controlled testing with no draft and no group, not trying to stay in the position of a group and all of that, so it's a very different environment to a race environment. But what it can prove, at least, is that the trainer is capable of not putting out shit data, which is what we want. Okay, it's almost time to turn around. In fact, I think it is time to turn around and get ready for the final interval in today's session. 300 watts standing up for 1 minute. This is a bit more of a natural feel to it. Well, I'm not there yet. I'll probably need one more gear. Okay, we're there. Going at 38. Okay, go! Okay, yeah, that graph looks good. Excellent. I think I'm calling that at least a partial win. It'd be interesting to see the fit file data later on, but from the lack of jumpiness of the power numbers top left and the lack of extreme spiking in the graphs at the bottom of the screen, I'm pretty confident that tightening that belt has done a ton of good. I will have to test it in a race environment sometime soon. But I'm pleased with that. I think, at least for the time being anyway, it seems to have had some good impact. Oh, I think the next thing I could try is hopping into a pace partner ride and see what effect that might have. I think that's a good idea. I'll do that now. Let's see, what pace partner would be about 200 watts. So that's one of the ones doing something like 3 watts per kilo, I guess. Four, no thank you. You may keep that one. 3.1 on Tempus Fugit. We don't have to go far to get to that one, do we? I think that'll do. That should be about 200. Oh, balls, it's gone away. Yep, let's go to that one. I need to be pushing about 200 probably. Maintain position in the group, and once the pedal assist disappears. Alright, got rid of all the spurious windows. Now I need to catch back on the back of the group and do what's necessary to stay there and see what that trace looks like. Well, it already looks a bit spikier, but not as spiky as it was before, so I'm encouraged again. Oh, that guy with the steering's pissing me off. Stop bobbling about. Dickhead. So it's definitely a little bit spikier, which I think it would be, because you're trying to maintain position in a group. Which requires constant adjustments. Oh, it's telling me I'm falling off. Okay. Oh, there's a spike, but I would consider that a good one. A bit spikier now. As I start to get a bit tired. Feel the need to push a bit harder to get properly on the back. And then when I get closer, I'm starting to back off to avoid going through, which I very much see as normal, healthy riding behavior. Now I'm backing right off the pressure. And now I'm starting to increase again as I feel myself sliding back. All of that while I wasn't looking at power numbers at all, just riding according to the pack and where I wanted to be in it. So the chart definitely looks a bit spikier than it did before I sprinted back in. Interesting. And I would further theorize that when you're about to die, trying to stay on the back, it probably gets spikier still as you're using a bit of anaerobic power to get on, then feeling toasted, so rest for a few seconds and then do it again. Now the issue is with some trainers that particular pattern gives you 3 watts, which is why it's considered micro bursting or sticky watting or some combination of the two. To my mind, in that situation, it's normal, natural riding behavior. And if we had trainers that actually reported our true power, it shouldn't be a problem at all. But we don't, so it is. Okay, good. That was a very good testing session. I'm extremely pleased that it looks as if the belt tightening has at least helped. Whether or not it's a complete solution, it's possible I need to stop pedaling like a twat as well. But there you go. Perhaps I will be able to carry on using this trainer after all, which make me happy because I didn't really want to buy another one just yet. Not when there's deep section carbon wheels to be bought for outdoor riding. So even when I'm riding aimlessly right now, not trying to stay with anybody or do anything in particular, there is a periodicity to the trace, and that has got to be something to do with how the trainer and Zwift interact, because the time period on it, well, usually when I look, it's something around 7 seconds, and I'm pedaling at 70 RPM, which is just over once per second, so it means you've got 7 full pedal revolutions in one cycle. So it can't be anything based on an individual pedal. It's puzzling, but at the end of the day, I think what I have is good enough for Zwift racing, and I hope it's good enough for Indie Velo, but if it's not, I may just have to only ride uncategorized events. We shall see. But you know what? The biggest problem is there's so much stigma attached to this stuff, you know? You've got... although credit to the community, nobody's accused me of cheating, because I haven't been. Cheating requires intent, and I was blissfully ignorant of the issue until Sunday, when I got booted from a race on Indie Velo. But there are people who haven't had a very nice experience. Usually people who are habitually winning a lot of races, they get more scrutiny. Thankfully, I do win a few, but not enough that people get upset about spiky power traces. Well, hopefully they're behind me now, and if they come up again, hopefully I know how to deal with it. But need a race test next, just to be sure. But I'm encouraged by this session. Okay. Oh, shut up now.